How's it going, everybody? This is Beat the Bush. I just want to update you guys because I haven't been uploading to this channel very much because I got leaky gut again. Full disclaimer here, this video might get a little bit graphic because I need to describe exactly what happens for it to be fully useful for everybody, especially with the rashes that you get, what happens afterwards, etc. Now, if you've been watching my main channel, about 2 years ago, I started saying, oh, I'm being vegan, going on a elimination diet to figure out what I can and cannot eat. Leaky gut is basically you eating a lot of processed foods, gluten possibly, oily foods, things like that, and then it sort of destroys your gut. There's supposed to be like good gut bacteria and bad gut bacteria, and then when the bad bacteria takes over, the lining of your gut just sort of thins down and then it becomes permeable. I think it goes from something like 1 micron to like 100 micron or something like, so the hole is a lot bigger. So when you eat, a lot more stuff gets through, goes into your bloodstream, and these foreign objects is not supposed to be in there. And then your white blood cells, I assume, goes and attacks those random particles that's floating around in your bloodstream, which in turns manifests itself as eczema, rashes, or whatnot. When I used to have leaky gut, before I sort of figured it out and actually, healed it, I at some point thought it might be bug bites or something, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I suffered with it for maybe a year or two. I went to see a dermatologist. In the end, the thing that helped me solve it was eating clean, which means basically no meat. Any kind of meat that I eat, including fish, chicken, pork, beef, it would manifest itself as like a bout of some sort of, rashes. I want to make this video because I want to let other people know what actually goes on in your body. When I eat something and let's say I haven't eaten anything bad for a long time, I just eat like vegan, no gluten, no cheese, no milk, right? And let's say I eat a meal of beef. So what happens is probably maybe an hour or two later, I can start feeling slightly itchy. And maybe, that night I might not be able to sleep well and rashes would come. And I would say it takes about 4 or 5 days for this round of rashes to completely clear. So just eating one single meal of something bad would cause my life to be kind of go off track for a really long time. And sometimes when I am in a really bad situation, then I can't do very much other things that's very productive. And if you're following my main channel, yes, this is part of the reason why sometimes I cannot upload as much, because I have these health issues. So as long as I'm eating really healthy, not healthy, I wouldn't say it's healthy. It's more like something that allows it so that your body can go back to a healthy gut so that you can process, different kinds of meats, dairies, and things like that. And I want to mention also something I learned from this whole process is that different kinds of meat have a different kind of reaction. Pork being the worst for me, and then beef. Pork is really, really bad. Sometimes if I eat that, and I have like major rashes. But beef is, on the scale of 1 to 10, right? Pork is 10, beef would be like 8, chicken would be like 4, fish will be like 2 or 3. So this gives you an idea of how terrible it is, if those particles gets into your bloodstream. Now, if you look online, is like nobody ever talks about leaky gut. I guess the fringe health people would talk about leaky gut as if it's a real thing. I personally feel like it is a real thing because I went through it. I went through a regimen of eating healthy for a good 2 whole months before it started getting a little bit better and better. The first time around, I completely thought, when I go vegan, okay, this is going to be a life thing. I might have to just eat this way for the rest of my life. But, after I ate it for really, really long time, and I almost forgot about it and just got used to not eating very much meat. And then at some point, I forgot how long after, like I started eating a little bit more. I'm like, hey, what the heck? What's going on here? How come I can eat meat now without too much adverse effects? Even at the peak of me being healed, right? When I eat beef in particular, I can eat other kinds of meat. When I eat beef or pork, I would get like sort of like more sweatier than usual. So I know this is kind of like more information than you would want to know. Now, when I actually get the rashes, sometimes it's not fully healed yet, right? And then I get tempted by eating. I am like a foodie. So when I see really good food, sometimes I just cannot help myself. I know I'm going to suffer from it, but then I'm like, oh, that looks so good. I want to eat that chicken. I want to, you know, whatever it is, right? And sometimes if you have a rash already, it seems like, you know, these rashes, they are kind of part of your skin. And when it appears like the top layer of your skin is just ripped away. I guess this is from your body attacking itself, and it just chews it up, and then it just sucks it into the body or somehow, and then it looks like it's an open wound, very, very thin open wound. You know, like depending on how bad your rashes are, they might range from between, you know, 1 millimeter dot, diameter dot, to like up to maybe 3 or 4 millimeters. So it's like these little spots of like plateaus, like indented plateaus type of thing. And when you eat certain foods that your gut cannot handle at the moment, they start oozing with, I guess, white blood cells. Like it attacks whatever foreign objects, and then it brings it up to the surface, and then it would get slightly kind of moist over there. So this is what happens. This is what I learned. And sometimes if you feel like it's kind of moist at your rashes, well, it might be because you ate something wrong that your gut cannot handle. And this leaky gut thing, it's not a lifetime thing, I don't think, actually, because you might think that you cannot eat anything right now. You cannot eat gluten. You cannot eat all kinds of meat, seafood, and things like that, right? But I've healed it before. And it takes a long time, like 2 months or so of complete, you know, no disturbance. So what happens when you do this is you eat only plant-based, right? You eat beans to fill yourself in place of meat, because that's your protein now. Basically, my meal consists of a quarter of it would be steel-cut oats, rice flour, rice or something, some kind of rice noodle, right? Not something without gluten. And half of it is vegetable, whatever vegetable that you want, Brussels sprouts, peas, carrots or something. And then another quarter of it has to be some kind of beans. That is required because you need to feel full. Beans is what's causes you to feel full. And if you eat this kind of sort of complete diet, then you would feel fulfilled. You won't feel very hungry, because if you just first jump into vegan, right, and all this, then you're gonna be like, oh, what's this? You just eat a salad and you're gonna be hungry all day long. So you gotta add in those beans. You gotta also, very important, to add in some kind of fat, like avocado. I am yet unfamiliar with what else I can add as fat. You know, like nuts is like, there's fat in it. So you need to eat enough fat along with the beans, the grains, and the vegetable in order to make this successful and make it so that you don't feel like eating other stuff and you feel hungry. So bringing it back, on this particular channel, if you look at my previous videos, it was right around that time where I got sent a whole bunch of, you know, packaged foods and stuff. I normally don't eat that many packaged foods. So then I was just trying those things. Turns out it's a bad idea, really bad for my health. I am particularly more sensitive to those things. So I guess I cannot do those anymore. I even got the Bulldog ramen, the 3X one, and I'm like, I paid like $20 some for that thing, and I don't think I can go and do that these days. So I am really sorry. I really wanted to do that as a long series. My health will not allow me to continue with that series. As you're progressing through trying to avoid eating things that you are allergic to, sometimes I hit some random packaged foods. I look at the ingredients and I'm like, oh, I should be fine with all of this. It looks like just a bunch of 5 different grains. And sometimes when you eat a lot of different things throughout the day, it's hard to figure out what you're allergic to because, you know, it might be like 20 different items, right? That's why it's so important to do the elimination diet. And yes, it's really, really hard to only eat vegetables and beans, and basically you can't add any kind of, you know, things that really taste great, you know, like MSG or whatever. So you can only integrate one additional thing probably per day or 2 or so. So when you introduce this thing, then you would know if you're allergic to it. And sometimes elimination diet is great and all because it can tell you what you're allergic to. But at the same time, when you are trying to heal your leaky gut, you cannot just keep on adding one thing at a time slowly, because then you're not healing your leaky gut, if that makes sense. Because, you know, you're eating some random thing and you get allergic to it, then, you know, you're not starting back from square one, but it really slows the process down. So I want to mention that sometimes if you eat packaged goods, because it looks so tasty and all, even if the ingredients appears to be completely okay. I had one item in particular. This package came from, I think it was made in China. It was like this very thin crepe looking thing, and it was very, very good. And I really wanted me to not be allergic to it, because then I would have something tasty to eat. No matter how much I believed it, it was still bad for me. And I finally realized after like trying it like 4 or 5 times, I kept on going back to it thinking, no, it's not that. It's not that. It's probably something else, right? In the end, it was that, after, you know, really cutting back on all the other things that's suspicious. And then it turns out it was that. Even though, you know, sometimes if you think, you look at a product and there's nothing offensive about it, so you think you can eat it and integrate it as part of your diet, but then, you know, somehow, you know, your rashes is not clearing up, you know, and then you suspect other things. So then it becomes a really, really difficult game to play when you mix in 3 or 4 different types of new foods and you don't know which one is which that caused the problem, so you can't remove it from your diet. So I like to mention that sometimes product packaging lies. Preservatives, I'm a little bit more sensitive to this stuff, so a surefire thing is to not eat any packaged goods at all, because those mostly have preservatives in it. And I've had this one thing where I'm not allergic to it. It was actually like a vegan meat product, right? It was this tasty little nugget soybean based thing. It has MSG in it. It has a few other preservatives in it. However, it didn't make my digestion feel very well, although it didn't create any kind of rashes or anything. So beware of that also. Lastly, I want to go back to what I actually think causes relapse. I think it's a whole combination of things. Remember back on my main channel, at one point, I felt healthy as a cow, a little depressed from the lockdown, right? So then I started drinking a little bit more. It's hard to say if it was exactly that caused my leaky gut to come back, but I drank way too much. I think 6 shots or something of vodka, and that probably is a contributing factor. Another contributing factor might be all the packaged goods that I was trying, as well as the bulldog ramen stuff. It might be too spicy. So I think it's a combination of all of that. Right after I drank the alcohol, it's not like suddenly I cannot eat anything else. I kept on doing other things, right? Like eating packaged foods, eating the ramen, and then I think I can see my health deteriorating. The rashes didn't just come on very, very strongly. Like it was like no rashes, and then suddenly like it just kind of like fell off the deep end for some reason. So I attribute the relapse to those combination of things. I really wish I can just tell which one of it is, so that, you know, maybe I can drink a little bit later on as well. You know, I enjoy drinking, I enjoy having ramen, I enjoy having packaged goods sometimes. So I think it might be a combination of that, and I need to kind of go easy if I were to have those. You know, if I have ramen, maybe only have 1 per week at most. One of the things that can heal your leaky gut is apparently L-glutamate. Now, I bought some of this on Amazon, and I had probably a large can like this big plus another small can. I bought the small can first and then I bought the large can. So it really, you know, I had to take 1 scoop of this every day. Basically, I had to finish 1.5 can of it before I could see an improvement in my gut. Now, L-glutamine, I think if you make bone broth, it's an equivalent. Anything jelly-like, so I've been eating gelatin-like stuff. I've been making bone broth with bones in it and a lot of tendon in it. It turns out tendon, I don't get too allergic to bone broth, even though it is meat-based. There's a lot of tendon in it that I eat, but certainly the reaction is like on the level of 1 or 2 in that 1 to 10 scale. So it's just something I have to eat. Apparently this gluey, gelatinous stuff helps your gut. It needs the base material. Apparently it uses that stuff in order to heal your gut. So a lot of hocus pocus, I would say, right? Like, oh, you gotta do this, you do that. Well, when you are kind of desperate, you just do all of it, right? So that's what I did the first time around. I'm like, oh, do this, do this, do this, you know, eat healthy. And, you know, lo and behold, after 2 months, you know, with the combination of all those things, I was able to heal it. And now I'm back. I am back right now. Actually, I haven't eaten meat for about, or anything offensive for about 5 days. So I feel great. I can actually do this video and tell you guys about it and not like feel like an itch ball, right? Like it's a horrible, horrible feeling to be like extremely, extremely rashy everywhere. So I really hope this video helps you guys, especially if you also have some kind of leaky gut problem. You will know if you have leaky gut if you eat something, maybe an hour or so after, you would start feeling itchy. Sometimes I would mistaken it, even with all my experience of leaky gut, I would mistaken feeling itchy as something else. Maybe I was in the hot weather and, you know, like I would sweat and I'm like, oh, it's just the sweat that's making me itchy, right? That's, you know, it might be a day after that I think about it. I'm like, oh yeah, you know, I ate so-and-so. Maybe that thing was tainted with pork fat or something, because even though it didn't have any meat in it, I went and ate at a restaurant, there was a reaction. I put all these here because I really, really want people, other people that have leaky gut, that have some sort of rashes, to sort of hear what I have to say, something that you recognize in your life as well, and then you would go, oh yeah, you know, that's what it was. And then maybe it'll help you guys out. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give me a like and subscribe for more.